Hello, team. All right, good to see you all. The rest of you will be arriving very soon. So anyway, we've got a short week this week, so we're not going to see you on Friday. But, all right, that will be good because you'll have a bit of a break and you'll be able to catch yourselves up, which will be fantastic. Today we're going to continue on in our discussion about the market model, specifically efficiency, looking quite purposefully at the idea of allocative efficiency. That's what we're going to be looking at. All right. So we'll just wait a couple more seconds for new people to arrive into the classroom. Anytime now. They'll be arriving very soon. And then we'll jump to our Nearpod lesson. The Nearpod code is in the classroom. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Good to hear it. Hello, Wenhao, how are you?
Fine. Hello.
Good to hear you. Hello, how are you? Good. Hello, how are you? Good. Okay. Hey, good to see you all. Now, obviously, we're back into lessons and all. Oh, there's Nisa. Hello, Nisa. And we're going to be continuing on in our investigating of the market model. Right, specifically at this point, at any rate, we're going to be looking at some efficiency ideas, right, which we looked at way back, okay, a whole week or more ago, okay. We might be having some who have got some issues with the technology. We've had a couple join and then disappear and then rejoin. That's okay. We are recording the lesson, so then if anybody misses parts of it, they will be able to catch up later. Okay, and have a look at it later. Plus, you can also review the videos yourselves, just to make sure you've got all the notes down that you need. And also, of course, like and subscribe. That's always a good thing. All right. So let's jump into our Nearpod. Now, the Nearpod code is indeed in the classroom. So let's see if we can find it. There it is. It should be X3TES. X3TES. Right. Okay, X3TES, it should be in the classroom, and it will also be here on the top left-hand corner of the screen. Now, waiting for you all to arrive. There you are. That's good. And a few more still to come. That's okay. So we've been looking at the market model, and we've been discussing how it works. It is our major tool, and we've got another, couple of weeks worth of material to think about with regards to it, so that's fine. And one of the next major things that we're going to be doing is looking again, as said, at efficiency and seeing some things that might crop up with regards to efficiency. So we're going to scroll through till we get to the idea of efficiency. Sure, there's an easier way to do this, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm sure there must be a way. All right. Now, all right, so there's our market model. All right, allocation and signaling. Now, ideas of efficiency. The first one that we came across was economic efficiency. And as we had a look at that, that's all about that optimal use of scarce resources. The optimal use of scarce resources was what we would use when we described economic efficiency. Right, there it is. Then we talked about productive efficiency. That's where we were able to produce at such a level, that Pareto optimality idea, that we cannot produce any more of one good without producing less of another, because our resources are being used to their maximum on the PPF curve. Then it was this one. This one was our allocative efficiency idea. That's where we said our production within the economy equaled what consumers wanted. So our supply equaled our demand. And however many markets there are, supply had to equal demand. We also talked about dynamic efficiency, where you're able to reduce your cost curves within a business by being more productive. Now, social efficiency, reducing the external costs. Then we introduce you to this idea of the consumer surplus, the extra that you are prepared to pay above the market price. So here we identified it on a demand curve. So it was that triangular area there. There's the market price. So therefore that area there is the consumer surplus, below the demand curve and above the price. We worked out the formula that we could use to calculate it. It's the area of the triangle, half the base times the height. And then when we added in producer surplus, here it is, we worked out that that was the amount that producers, they're prepared to supply this quantity at this price, but they're actually getting this price. So it's the extra revenue that producers can gain above the cost that they're prepared, above the price that they're prepared to actually put the product into the marketplace. It will always be above the supply curve, but below the price. So when we put the two together, we found this idea here, that at an equilibrium, our consumer surplus and our producer surplus were going to be maximized. They were going to be the best they could possibly be. If we're at this equilibrium, then we can't get a bigger consumer surplus and we can't get a bigger producer surplus. No matter what quantity you look at along here, it will always be, these producer and consumer surpluses will always be bigger the closer you get to the equilibrium, with the biggest they can possibly be when you're actually at this quantity here. So the idea of allocative efficiency is when supply equals demand and when your consumer surplus and producer surplus are maximized. All right, now the maths involved. Here we go. This is a little bit of fun for you, and it is just a triangular equation, right, to work out the area of a triangle. So half the base times the height, and down here, half the base times the height. Now, some learners struggle with this maths, right? And sometimes the way we draw the models, that can get a bit complicated. So there is an example here using these numbers to work out consumer surplus and producer surplus. Now, little things to make sure that we are aware of. The sort of traps for young players is making sure that you include the dollar sign and that you include the what's called units of measurement. So it might be millions, it might be thousands, hundreds of thousands, might be billions. Depends very much on what the product in the market is. Where in the market model is allocative efficiency? Where do you think it is? Well, it's right at the equilibrium. Now, to review, this is what we need to think about. So this is the new for the day. In a free market, the price mechanism acts as we saw, a signal and an incentive. Signal to other producers, right? They're going to enter the industry, the market, right, to grab up any of the profits that they can see. But it also works as a rationing device to eliminate any of those surpluses or shortages that might arise. Okay, so if there is a shortage, the price will rise, eliminating any shortages that occur. If there's a surplus, then the price will decrease, eliminating the excess of quantity supplied. All right, now, what you need to be able to do is to make sure that you are aware of how that works, and then that you're able to contrast that, or contrast, however we say that word, to a centrally planned economy. So the idea of a command economy, right, being different from a free market economy, and this is one of those ways where we can say, well, in a command economy, this doesn't work, all right, and neither will this. Okay, so what is the implication of that? How does that affect that particular system, all right, when you're trying to answer those three economic questions? All right, fill in the gaps. Where you go. Got about a minute, maybe less. As you get, I need to jump back here. Push this button. This button. And jump back to here. Only 15 of you in the Nearpod. Okay. All right, so have a go at that one. Close the apps. How are we getting on? Oh, good numbers coming up. Close the gaps. Nope, there's 17 of you now in there, so that's good. Okay, about another 30 seconds. Good work, team. Doing well. Okay, 30 seconds. Right. In a free market, the price mechanism acts as a signal and an incentive. As price rises, this acts as a signal to other producers that there are potential revenues and profits to be made. This will encourage them, give the incentive to enter the market, and it also acts as a rationing device where the price will increase, reducing the quantity demanded until it equals the quantity supplied. The invisible hand. This is different from a centrally planned or command economy. Good. Now, we've got to remember the definitions. All right, here we go. The consumer surplus is the difference between how much buyers are prepared to pay for a good or service and what they actually pay, the actual market price. The producer surplus is the difference between the market price, okay, that the firms receive and the price at which they're prepared to supply the quantities. Good to go into your glossaries. Dum, dum, dum. And now we have our first, or one of our first, government interventioning. Oh, here it is. All right, Max will be familiar with this. It is a maximum price. All right, there are going to be lots of causes of this. There's going to be consequences. It is the bigger of the mothers, the maximums. All right. Sometimes the maximum price is called a ceiling price, with the idea being that you can't go above the ceiling. All right. Okay, so therefore the price is set there, right? Which means that what they're trying to do here, there's your equilibrium, right? They're trying to say that this equilibrium market price is too high. We don't want it that high, so we're going to put a maximum price underneath that, right? A ceiling underneath that, and it has to be underneath the market clearing price, underneath this price. If we set the ceiling above the equilibrium price, then the market will just go back to the equilibrium. It won't do anything. So it will be set here. The ceiling will be set lower than the market price, and that will prevent, it's as a law set by the government, making it illegal to price above that level. And so it's a fixed price, set in stone. Often it is imposed by a government. They're trying to maybe make the good more affordable. They want more people to have access to it. So it might be that it's like a necessity. Okay, so we did this in New Zealand, believe it or not. We had these maximum prices for bread and milk, which I attempted to pronounce quite carefully. Right, bread and milk. Right, we had maximum prices on them because they were considered to be necessities. That it was, you don't want them to be priced too high because people won't be able to afford them, so there will be less availability. Right? And maybe it's an equality or an equity, a fairness issue. Who can get these products and who can't? The market says this is the price. We don't want that. Maybe we want more control from the government. Now the problem is, as soon as the government's going to get involved, the market's going to go, whoa, because what you're doing is you are preventing the invisible hand from working. And remember, we said when we turned on the taps, the market naturally wants to go to the equilibrium. But if you turn on the taps, but you've put a plank of wood across the sink, and you turn on the taps, the water's not going to go down the drain, it's going to spill out all over the floor. So in the case of a ceiling price, a maximum price, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with an excess of demand. So many people wanting this product, but not enough of it. And it'll be set by law. So the only way for it to change, that situation to change, will be if the government decides to change the law with regards to it. You find when you do that sort of thing, you end up with lots of people queuing products. It might end up with something called second-hand selling, so not an original product, selling it second-hand. It could be something along the lines of a parallel market, okay, or a hidden or underground market or black market. You might be familiar with some of those terms. So if you're selling a product parallel, it is out of the official channels. It is unlicensed, but it is still a legal sale. Whereas if it's underground, then it is illegally sold. All right? If it's what's called a hidden market, it is illegally sold. Okay? A possible solution to the idea of the excess of demand that gets built up would be to limit the quantity per person that they're allowed of this particular product. Right? To use like rationing systems, right? Or to have some sort of queuing system. Now, this does happen. This has been tried by governments all around the world, particularly, and there's the example there, during wartime, where there is an increased level of scarcity, and sometimes that level of scarcity will be about, as said, the necessities, the basic goods that you need to survive. So that's a maximum price. Can't go above the ceiling. All right. So, what is a maximum price? This is for you. And why might you put it in place? Why would the government decide to put it in place? There you go. You've got about 30 seconds. I have a go at this one. What is a maximum price and why would a government put it in place? Good. That's right, Max. Yes, that's good. And you've got a real life example there, which is fantastic. You've said why they put it into place. You haven't actually said what it is there, Vincent, just saying. Yes, good. Yeah, we got the wrong end of the stick there a bit, Joel. All right, the maximum price, you put it in place because you think that the market price is too high. All right, it is, the good has become unaffordable for perhaps everyday consumers, or there's such a scarcity of it that they're worried about people getting it. So the availability question. So they might actually put that in place to help people, help it become more available. Yeah. Now, what you're going to find is that when the government chooses to do this, they are, as said, battling against the invisible hand. Good work, Lisa. And as we've discovered, that the market will not like that. The market won't want that to happen. The market will be creating excess demands all over the place. Now, here's a fill in the gaps exercise. About a minute to do that one. Ready, go. Let's see if you can close the gaps. Okay. I'm going to go. We're still there. Yep. Work, Max. Well done. Am I good? Well done. Rock stars. Look at you all. Work done, eh? Excellent. Well done. Waiting on a couple of others. Okay. About 30 more seconds. See if we can grab up the rest. Right. Okay, maximum price, sometimes called a ceiling price. The price is set underneath the market clearing price, often imposed by governments to increase availability, maybe increasing equality. Right, gave the example about wartime prices. Side effects include excess demand, queues, and second-hand selling. The parallel underground economy. Maybe a solution might be just to limit the quantity available, right? Some ration system or a queuing system. Now, history learners amongst us will be probably quite familiar with the idea of rationing systems that they had during the war. Right. But you might be surprised. I mean, the one that got mentioned before, I apologize, I can't remember who said it. Might have been Winston. Let's have a look. Rent control. All right, has been actually done before with regards to the housing and housing costs. All right, so the fact is that not everybody can afford accommodation, and if you live in a city, like some of the really big cities of the world, the New Yorks, right, LA, right, some of those enormous cities where the center of the city is really expensive to try and live in, sometimes the government has intervened and put a rent price ceiling on the price of rent, right? Price control on rent. And in particular, New York comes out as one of the classic case studies for that. And you'd think, well, yay, fantastic, people will be able to afford to buy houses. But as it turns out, what ends up happening, as you can imagine, is exactly what was said. The invisible hand gets a bit cross with you because it's not able to clear. There's the market clearing price. Instead, because this here then becomes the price, okay, because that's the maximum price there, and we tend to write it Pmax. All right? Yeah, okay. All right, there's the supply curve, and it's at that price because at that quantity, that is the price that producers will be prepared to submit the houses, you know, however many houses it is, or in this case, rice. All right. However, at that price, consumers would have been prepared to pay this price up here. So what ends up happening, because this is all that's on the market, right, is there's been a reduction here in quantity available. Look at that. You end up with this quantity here being supplied and this quantity here being demanded. So there is a big excess of demand from Q3 to Q1. Then if we have a look in here, let's tell the tale of the efficiency. All right, so let's see what happens with regards to our allocative efficiency. We said that if we're at equilibrium, then our consumer surplus, there it is, would be maximum, and our producer surplus, there it is, would be maximum too. All right, so that would lead to allocative efficiency. But when we put this hunking big piece of wood, all right, down there, preventing the taps from clearing down the drain, you end up restricting the price to here, which, yes, it does benefit. Look at all those consumers. They're prepared to pay this much. Right, all of those ones. So all of these people gain. There's all their consumer surplus. Look at that. Producers, they're not getting much of their surplus at all. Right? In fact, producers lost part of their surplus. And here, do you see that? They lost all of that. Consumers also lost this bit. And because this quantity is now the quantity of available rice in this particular case. Right? So then all of this that was consumer surplus and all of this that was producer surplus has disappeared. It's gone into the ether, so to speak. All right? Because this consumer surplus here isn't absorbed by the producers. It's also not absorbed by consumers. It's just gone. All right? This producer surplus isn't absorbed by consumers. It's also not obviously absorbed by the producers. The government doesn't get this. Right? Nobody gets it. It just disappears. So this triangle, which is down 1, 2, right, that is surplus or utility that has disappeared from the market. It has been lost. Right? So what we tend to refer to this, you'll see there's 3 little letters in there, DWL. Now, this is again a terminology thing, so we're going to need to make sure we use the right words. So we've got consumer and producer surplus. We've got a loss in here of the surpluses, or if you like, a loss of the welfare that society might have. So this bit in here we call the dead weight loss, or DWL. And that is a loss to society of any of those surpluses, excuse me, any of those surpluses that would have been there had we been allocatively efficient. Now, check this out. Look at this. Look. You might recognize the geometric shapes here. Look, there's a triangle there. There's a rectangle there. There's another triangle there. And here, ooh, there's a big triangle, or if you like, two little triangles, dependent on your point of view of the world, right? Yes, you can guess what that means, right? In economics, one of the things we love to do is to work out the area under the curves, right? So you can do several things in your analysis here, right? This price ceiling is being put in place so you can work out, you know, the market price, what the price was, what the new price is. You could work out the change in producer surplus. Okay, so that's this bit. It's the change in producer surplus. You can work out the change in consumer surplus, which is that bit. All right, that's how much they have. Well, that's changed. That's changed. And that. This bit is consumer surplus lost. This bit is producer surplus lost. And you can also work out the total deadweight loss, because that will be, again, it's two triangles, half the base times the height. Here you could say that consumers have gained, so you can work out the additional surpluses that have been gained. But this deadweight loss, right, it's gone. It's lost. All of this welfare, lost. Now what that means is that this market is now no longer allocatively efficient. Because you can see if we were to drag this over, we would become more and more efficient until we ended up here, and that would give us our maximum consumer and producer surplus. But we're not. We're all the way back here. Now, there's a little wee trick to the deadweight loss. Okay, you see this little triangle. Because some learners struggle to identify where it is on the model. So what we said in New Zealand is that it becomes like a little triangle, and it points towards where the market wants to go. So it is pointing like a little arrow towards the area of allocative efficiency, which is right there at the market equilibrium. All right, now I'm going to stop there and jump back to the meat, which is here. All right. Now, ladies and gentle beings, that was a lot to unpack and to think about. Now, you've only just jumped back into lessons from having a whole mass series of exams. All right, so your brain might be spinning a little, and I understand that. You've got a couple of days break. Okay? You've got the Thursday and the Friday. I'm back at work. Obviously, I'm on work on Thursday because that's what we do. Right? Now, I would like to please just remind you all that I posted a link to the InThinking IB, right, on the classroom. Please make sure you should all be linked into it now because I assigned you work from it. Right? Please make sure that you are linked into that you're able to access it. If there are problems with you accessing it, let me know and I'll try to figure out how to get you into it. It is a really significant site. We used to have another site called Cognity. We no longer have that particular site. We have this one, and it's a really good one because it's got both the old and the new syllabuses together. So I'm able to use it with both year 13 and year 12. So that's very helpful and handy. It's got questions and theory, etc., and it's going to go right the way through the course. So that's a very useful tool to have. Some aspects I'll be able to directly push to you. Others I will have sort of stored in the background and then be able to use with you perhaps a bit later. All right. Now, please, I would like you to make sure you are on that site. I'd like you to be reviewing the ideas of efficiency. And from today, I would like you, obviously, consumer and producer surplus and allocative efficiency. And from today's work, I would like you to please to review maximum prices and the impact that maximum prices have, quite clearly have, on allocative efficiency. All right, so you saw the effects on the surpluses, all right? the deadweight loss that was created, and what will be really awesome is if you can figure out how to trace that out, draw that out yourself, all right, because that's what we would do in class, and you're going to have practice at that. We are then going to launch into the next one, which is a minimum price, and we're going to have a look at that. Real life examples, always useful, like the rent control in New York example, and the rice one that you've got, but New Zealand with bread and milk, that's another good example, and we're going to look at others. All right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we will be finishing there for today. Tasks, review, Lincoln, and then we will see you next week. All right, so in next week, we're going to be continuing this on, right, looking at government intervention in the market, and then we're going to do a couple quirky wee additional theories that we need to learn. And then after we do that, we're actually going to, believe it or not, we're going to smash the market model. We're going to say, smash, right? We're going to try and do that, right? Because it's fun. And then we're going to look at government policies, right, like these, where you're attempting to fix problems with the market. And part of that is going to be evaluating. So as we saw with this one, when you put the maximum price in, there are consequences. And those consequences are what you're going to need to be able to talk about. And then if those consequences are significant, as they are in this particular case, how might you fix those consequences? If you're determined to have that, then what could you do about it? So rationing systems, for example. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will finish there for the day. As we'd say in the land of my birth, hei kōrera, which means goodbye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good rest over the couple of days.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
See you.
Mr. David,
Yeah, hello.
I was just wondering whether we're gonna keep to like 40-minute lessons for like.
Yeah. Well, my aim is 20 to 30.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
you're not supposed to have hour 20 lessons.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. My aim is 20 to 30 so that you have time then to do some work, prep work on the material that you've just done, and in the not too distant future, work on your IA draft and so on.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you. See you.
Mr. David, could
Yeah,
you give me my pathway feedback, please, by email?
Well, you did say you didn't want it. I'm just saying.
Wait, what?
I can email it to you. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Apologies. I didn't read that correctly. Yes. I will email it to you. And hope, yes, I'll email it to you. And it should arrive very, very soon.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.